Ready?
No.
I'm not either. I don't know where it's gonna go. Let's see where it goes.
Yes, yes. Let's be courageous.
Yes. Sophie, hello.
Ooh, hello.
Thanks for having me. This is a lovely, it's a homey home. It's difficult to find homey home in Bali. And she was showing me around, telling me about her 3D life, as we call it now. Like through this series, I'm getting to know people in a different way that we don't necessarily know. This is something I realized with Jada too. Like I don't know anything about these people in terms of like real life stuff. Like she was just telling me that she's been living here with her family, and I'm like, oh, you have a family? I had no idea. And we've known each other for such a long time now, like almost like long depends 6-7 months, but normally if you know someone for 6-7 months in the real world, if they're married or not. So anyway, I guess this is going to be the third episode of From Bali with Love. We are here with Sophie. I like to start with a little introduction as to like how I know you, and we go from there. We don't know where we're going, but we're going from there. So, just like Jada, I know Sophie from Five Freedoms, which I actually met here in Bali. Before Bali, I didn't know about Five Freedoms. I knew about ecstatic dance. I had some ecstatic dance experience, but Five Freedoms was totally new to me. And my dear friend Berin, she introduced me to Five Freedoms and Sophie and Jada. And so since then, I've been hooked. And I now go almost every week, unless there's something else going on. And it became my weekly practice. I use the word practice intentionally. It's not a dance for me. We talked about this with Jada too, which we're going to get into that a little bit. It is a practice for me, and it's a practice I really, really enjoy and like and benefit from. So, Sophie, how do we start? Let's start with Five Rhythms. Let's dive right in. How did you meet with Five Rhythms? How did you get hooked? How did you get poisoned, as I like to
How did Five Rhythm find me?
Oh, okay.
Did I find Five Rhythms? Well, let me actually answer by rewinding a bit.
Sure.
Into I like to say when I introduce myself as actually Five Rhythms or dance in my life, that I think I learned to dance before learning to walk.
Right. Oh.
Like I was dancing ways, as far as I remember, as long as I remember, far back, I'm dancing. So I did the classic ballet. I was a ballet dancer for more than 15 years, 17 years. So, and I almost got accepted into the opera. I mean, the pre-opera to go to, I was born in Paris, France. So, yeah, ballet dance was my life. I wanted to become professional in ballet. And thank God I didn't get accepted. Not from the dance part, actually, but I was going to go to a high school that is kind of like half of the time you go to school, academia, and half you dance. And then it's like a adapted time schedule. And I was not a good enough student at school, so I didn't get accepted. So it was really disappointing. But I continued to dance. And then one of the dancer who was with me in ballet entered a more contemporary, more modern company, small company. And I went to see a performance at the end of the year, and I totally fell in love with that. I was like, oh my gosh, this is like beyond next step, after structure and and this and that, and like being in such a box, I'm so glad I had that too, as I was growing up and forming my body as a young girl and then teenager. I'm so glad I had ballet to really be strong, muscularly. But in terms of expression, I really was needing something else. So I went to see her performance. I loved it. It was more freeing. It was more, we were telling something. It's not just technical. So I actually joined this little company, and we performed a bit like semi-professional. Not totally.
This is in Paris.
In Paris.
And what year was this?
1989 to 1995.
Oh wow, long time too.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, even more. No, sorry. Yeah, 1993, I think, to 1998, because 1998 is when I left for Canada.
Okay.
So I left France, and I moved to Canada, my life, everything. And I was so happy to move out of France, except one thing, I was going to leave the company.
Yeah.
So that was a bummer. So, but I continued to explore contemporary jazz, African, like all sorts of dance expression. And then in Montreal, first thing I looked for dance classes and modern dance class. And then I found this choreographer who I literally fell in love with in terms of soul and energy and creativity. Like, we're really soul sisters, for instance. And I joined her class and also her small company, and also I danced, and we toured a bit. We went to the International Dance Festival in Palestine, so which was a pretty sensitive region, as we know, and our experience was incredible. So and I loved it, but there was still a little something that was missing, like in terms of language. And my husband one day took me he went to a dance class. He was dancing also, but like freely. I don't remember where I was, but somehow I couldn't go. And then he came back, he said, I think you should try that one. I think you're gonna love it.
Oh, wow.
And I went, and it was a 5 rhythm class.
Oh, not even ecstatic.
No.
5 rhythms, right?
It was 5 rhythm with one of the pioneers who co-created 5 rhythm with Gabriel Rock.
Okay.
His name is Eric Arvinson. He's one of my mentor and big master. Wow. So I started off with him, in his class. And at first I was like, what is that? But oh my gosh, like I had found the practice.
Yeah.
And I remember, not the first time, but one of the first times, maybe the third time I went, it was in the middle of the winter, Montreal, Quebec, super cold. I remember the classes were on Sunday afternoon, already dark, 4:00 in the afternoon, February. It was like, I was going to dance. And I think it was a snowstorm, and the weather was extreme. We arrived, we are maybe 80, like a big group, 50 or 80 of us in a huge studio downtown Montreal. And we start the warm up, we start to move, boom, power shut down. No more electricity, no more music, no more light. And then we look at each other, what do we do? It's getting dark, but there was some kind of portable little light, but no music. And Eric said, it doesn't matter. The rhythms are inside you. And we did the whole session in silence, and it guided us with our breath, with our stomping, with our walk, with our clapping. It was the most incredible experience in 5 rhythms. So, yeah, those were layers on top of each other that were like, what is this practice? Like, it gives me goosebumps, actually, think about it, that where the rhythm is inside of you. You are supported by the music, but you don't need the music. You find it inside.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest is history.
So how did you end up in Bali then? From Canada to here, what happened in between?
So what happened? So I was dancing five rhythm, but not really intending to be a teacher. I had my practice with Suzanne, this choreographer, Suzanne. If you listen to this podcast, you are one of my most inspiring sister song. And well, okay, where do I start? Bali. I was done with the cold of Montreal. My body was really struggling.
Hello.
It was really,
we're gonna have a lot of people walking in and out of the frame.
A four-legged friend.
Four-legged friends. Two-legged friends.
Yeah. People are coming, going. It's very communal. So yeah, I was done with the cold, and meanwhile, I met my husband, and we have two children, two boys, and we wanted something else, another way for them to be educated at school. We were really looking for alternative education, and my husband was a music producer, and then he changed his career into education. And we heard about this incredible international school here in Bali called the Green School.
Yeah.
And Zach applied, and he got accepted as a teacher at the Green School. So we all packed up and left for Bali, for Green School. Actually, it was not.
When was this?
2014. So it's
2014.
11 years.
Okay. Wow. And then you come to Bali, and then what do you think?
I come to Bali. And that's interesting. Actually, this is the first time as I'm talking to you that I realized, because of the narrative, that again, I left not five rhythm, but Suzanne, one of the most nourishing practice behind in France and now in Montreal. That's interesting, actually.
Pattern. There's a pattern. It's Mercury retrograde, by the way, as we shoot this video, which we are sick of. But Mercury retrograde is really good for, thinking about the past and all these memories. So maybe that's why it's also coming back to you.
It's vivid.
Yeah.
So Bali, it's, we were preparing, although it happened pretty fast, because Zach is my husband's name. It got confirmed in May. And we packed up and left. We started the school year in August.
Yeah.
So literally May, June, we had two months to pack up, put our stuff in storage, sell, because we were packing up our life. We didn't know, but in the back of our head, we didn't have the intention to come back.
Right. Wow.
And we haven't come back, and we're not intending to come back.
And had you been to Bali before that?
Yes.
Okay.
Myself with my ex-boyfriend here in 1993 or 2. Wow. Imagine that. Yeah, so what a change. But that's interesting, because in 2014 it had changed a lot, of course. But something inside of me, just rediscovering Ubud, because we were kind of stationary in Ubud back in 1992, and kind of traveling around already with motorcycle. Something felt very familiar and unchanged when I arrived in 2014. I was like, what is that? For sure, it's more busy, more construction, and I realized the tradition, the spirituality, and the Balinese hold the fort, hold the torch of continuous not being impacted by the turmoil of tourism coming and going, and they're holding the energy as stable as possible. And we see it especially like these past days, this incredible, crazy rain. And before that, it was extreme heat. And then you have a volcano eruption, and then you have earthquake. It's crazy here. It's so chaotic, and the Balinese keep the energy stable. And that's what I felt when I came back. Like something hasn't changed. Actually, it's very familiar.
Yeah, that's one of the things I really like about Bali. And people keep asking me, like, is it changing? Is it gonna change? Looking at Balinese people and how they live, I don't think they're gonna let this island become something else.
Yeah.
You know, it's of course it's gonna transform into a more, global place. It already is, but the way they're like so committed to their traditions and their belief system is just so admirable. And that's why I always think, like, there are going to be definitely some parts of this island that are not going to change,
hopefully crossing thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you moved here with the family. The kids started school here.
Yes.
The husband started school here. And what were you doing? How was your relationship with spirituality at this point, by the way? Because like everybody comes to Bali because they are spiritual. What was your journey like?
I was already on the journey, for sure. I think I started early on without knowing. And it's one of the reasons also why I left France and I moved to Canada. It was also like a search, but something I couldn't define. I couldn't put any word, or it was I was very green in a sense, but searching for something. And then the big shift and the big awakening is when I met my husband, who himself had journeyed was way ahead.
Oh, wow.
So he was really, and he's still my guru.
Oh, wow.
My teacher. Oh. And we each other guru, of course. It's like, but yes, he had already been journeying deeply, like deep shit. Sorry.
It's YouTube.
So yeah, it was, thanks to him, I could really unpeel layers and process and talk. This is how we met, actually. We met talking. We couldn't stop talking about everything spirituality. I was like swallowing his words of wisdom and of finally someone who can see the world from another angle that is not the establishment.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And the funny thing is, and this happened a few times in my life, he's American. And I had spent some time in the States studying, actually, and I dated some Americans. And I swore to myself that I would never be with an American.
Yeah.
It was like, this culture, those people, no way I'm going to be even long-term, like not even husband and father of my kids. And here it is.
Wow, never say never.
Exactly. And he's my best friend and my partner and the father. Yeah, it's an amazing journey with him. So yes, I was already there and I'm feeling. And then another kind of trademark, no, milestone was in 2010. We went to Costa Rica. So we met in Costa Rica in the turning point of 1999, 2000. I was in Costa Rica either actually checking a place with a friend who wanted to organize retreat. She had a piece of land and she wanted to organize yoga retreat and stuff. And I was, already interested in that. I said, I can help you. So I was checking out the piece of land she had. In some little cabinas on the beach. And here comes Zach. He was part of it's another long story, maybe if we have time. It's a long story. Anyways, we meet in Costa Rica. He comes back with me in Montreal, and we get together, and we have children 2 years later. And 10 years later, we decide with the boys to go back to where we met in Costa Rica.
Oh, nice.
So we had bought a house in northern Montreal, and one day, we were in this like more established I've seen
There's a little chick, yeah.
chicken. There's a turtle over there.
Yeah, I saw the turtle too. Oh my god, so cute.
It's like the
So
full
Bali.
distraction. Like, don't come here, ADHD, because
that's why I'm looking around. Sorry. So you went back to Costa Rica.
So back to Costa Rica. And we had this house, very established. I mean, that's good with young kids to have a routine and something stable. But I was miserable. And one day I told Zach, I said, are we happy in this life like that? Having a house, having to sustain, and next year is changing the roof, and next year is like, this is not us. Why don't we sell everything? So we sold everything.
Wow.
We sold everything and we took almost all the money and we packed up and left with the two boys for 6 months in Central and South America.
Wow.
And everybody told us, like, are you freaking crazy?
Yes.
You're going to take the kids out of school. So what? They're 5 and 8. What are they going to miss out at school? That they're not going to kind of times 20 million being in the world and learning math through currency exchange, like dealing with paying in pesos and in whatever, and calculating the mileage and calculating the time in real life and speaking other languages rather than be at the desk. So that's what we decided. And so we packed up with them, backpack. It was amazing. And we ended up so the trip was started in Colombia, then we went to Panama, then we went to Nicaragua, and from Nicaragua we would go down through the border and all the way to Costa Rica where we met, which is south of Costa Rica. And guess what? We ended up never going back to where we met.
Okay.
Because on the way to this place, the south of Costa Rica, we met some people who talked about this community near, what is it called? In what is it called? The Nosara, in the Osa Peninsula, northern Costa Rica. This community that looked really cool and really our intuition. I remember in Nicaragua, we were kind of planning our next steps. We were in a little cafe, international cafe, and we meet those people and they say, yeah, we're on a visa run. We live in this community and we have to leave the country once every 2 months. So we're on a visa run for a couple of days and then we're going back. Here is a flyer. They have the flyer. I just look at the colors, a little bit of description. I said, Zach, let's go there. On the way to Orochal, where we met, let's stop there just to check it out. I don't know. I feel we should go there. Say, sure. So we talked to those people and said, can we come along and come with you? They said, of course, yeah. It's going to be easier to share a taxi or whatever. So we go with them. We take a bus. It's a few hours. Then we like dirt road, full adventure. Then the boys are here with a little backpack and totally mesmerized by the world and nature, a bit like this nature here. And we arrive, and it's actually an Osho community called Pachamama in Costa Rica. But it's not full on Osho. It's Osho inspired, and the kind of core members of the community were definitely Osho followers. But the community itself is very loose and inclusive for it.
Okay.
And we ended up there, and we didn't leave until we left back for Montreal. So we didn't continue further south to Orochal. And we stayed there for almost a month. And over there, it's like Ubud, kind of, but in a little community. So a lot of yoga. And I don't remember breath work, but they have a real rhythm according to based on nature and the rhythm of the community. So they have what they call transformation cycle, where you do like cleanse, silent, vipassana, and yoga and festival on the river.
How about dynamic meditation?
Of course.
Right.
Yeah, dynamic.
Okay, but that's not where you started with 5 rhythms. So
no, but there were actually a couple of 5 rhythms facilitators, not in Pachamama, but nearby in the village nearby. So we went. Every time I was hearing about 5 rhythms, I would go.
Interesting. So
that was the continuation of my spiritual journey. And then we went back to, so it was funny. I went back to Pachamama the year after by myself, and then the boys and Zach joined me. I really wanted to go deeper in some of the retreats. There were offerings, one called Primal Deconditioning and the Path of Love. This one I didn't do. I love to do it one day. Yeah. Nice. And so 2011, 12, 13, 14, and we were here. So it was like very short time.
Yeah. So when you came to Bali, there was no 5 rhythms.
Yes, there was actually. Yeah. There was a guy a British guy called Yanis, who was doing, didn't do it immediately. I think it was freshly graduated. And he started, I don't remember actually exactly. But anyways, he was here for a while, and he became kind of my mentor when I started my path, my journey towards teacher training. I didn't have a mentor. Yeah.
Then you started doing your teacher's training.
So yes, 5 rhythm kind of headquarters, how can I call them, a global organization, led by the son of Gabriel Roth, who has the legacy now. His name is Jonathan. He created a kind of intermediate module between just dancers and teachers, because it takes not only a long time, prerequisite, a lot of money to be a teacher. And the practice is expanding and exploding all over the world. So people are asking more to be dancing, but not enough teachers. So he created this intermediate called Space Holder, where you're not fully certified, but you can, to some extent, like play the music and hold sweats. So sweat is the 5 rhythm kind of free flow format, where you don't guide and teach, per se. And Jada and I, that's how we met. We went to the Space Holder module together in Australia.
Yes,
in 20. Did she talk about it? Probably.
I think so. Yeah.
So it was in 2017, I think. 2017. And she embarked immediately in the teacher training. So she went and got her prerequisite to back. She went to Europe, spent 2 summers back to back, and she had a prerequisite faster, so she could get into the teacher training faster. That's why she got certified. I mean, who cares?
Yeah.
Voila.
When you arrived in Bali, what did you think about the spiritual community here? Did you feel like there was a community at the time? I don't know. Did you fit in? Was it an extra point for you that this is also a spiritual community?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. At the beginning, for the couple of years, I was really FOMO, fear of missing out, of trying everything and anything here in Ubud. And this one and that one, and yoga and thing, and authentic relating, and
as we all do.
But it was the offering, the number of possibilities were way more limited. It was mostly yoga. mostly. Ecstatic dance only at Yoga Barn 2 times a week. That's it. There was no dance. Wow. And actually, that's one of the first things when I arrived, I was like, where is the dance? So in some of the groups we had, I reached out and say, are there any dancers who are missing dance? Can we get together? And we created one of the actually dance Facebook group that is now like up and running. So yeah, we were a few who started to kind of explore dance together, at least for self-practice. So yes, I was really, antennas out. What's happening?
You're trying different things.
But at the same time, my focus was so much into Green School because of the voice, and the community over there is incredible. So it's not what I call a bit stereotype, but real. It's not the woo-woo community, but it's very conscious and sustainable driven community. So yeah, so my focus and my kind of community was mostly there at the beginning.
Okay.
And then it shifted when I stopped working there, because then I worked at Green School. So when I stopped working there, I shifted my community a bit elsewhere, which was healthy because
Okay.
But yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
But then I to be honest, I have changed myself for sure. Earlier, you're talking about the 49 to 52 kind of shift pivot point. Definitely, I went through that huge transformative period in all the senses of it, from the best rebirth to the most traumatic physical challenges and emotional challenges. So definitely I changed. And also the Bali Ubud expat, I talk about expat, not the locals, community, has, how can I say, how can I say without being too blunt and too judgmental?
Judgmental is the word spiritual people are trying to stay away from, but we cannot. It's okay. We accept it. We can be spiritual and judgmental.
Can we? Well, I know I'm very judgmental. I kind of own it, but at the same time, I know it's not giving me anything. So I see it. Yeah. Okay, let me put it this way. I think the Balinese people are looking at all that, and as I said at the beginning, like holding the fort of spirituality, and because they're also Balinese, and so also know how to take things not too seriously. They're very serious about the spirituality, but they don't take it too seriously. And I'm sure they see all those modalities and practices and become a healer, whatever. They must be laughing. Really, like you come here and pay shitload of money for to become a spiritual whoever and practice. And sometimes I feel like I want to tell all those people coming, like, just sit down with the Balinese. Just sit down, do the chanang, the little basket offerings with the women, talk about life, be present, look at yourself, look at the beauty in what you do. Walk in the rice field with the farmers. Just do that. Be here with the local. And I'm telling you, you're going to grow much more, and your inner journey will be much deeper than going to a freaking 200 hours training, and then all of a sudden you become enlightened. You see what I mean? Here is my super judgmental speech,
but it is true. Like living in Bali, it's like I can see, the temples they have in their like land. My room is right across from that, and I see while I'm working and stuff, them going in there paying respect to their elders every day, every morning, picking flowers and praying and having that connection with ancestors and everything. And I'm like, this you cannot buy. This is something you cannot really learn. Like
Thank
you
you.
are born into this, and
Yeah.
it's their nature. Like they don't question it. They don't like feel tired ever. They're not busy to do that. Like all the other spiritual people, as as soon as we have an excuse, we're like, okay, I can skip this. No, this
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
out of question.
Yeah.
And when you watch them, it's like I literally shared this on my Instagram account last week. I'm like, I'm trying really hard to deserve to live in this island and be as connected as these people. I meditate every day, but sometimes I skip,
Yeah.
like, and I
Yeah.
pray, I do my affirmations and stuff, but it's their like nature, they are born into this and they don't question this, and then you see that and it's like, wow, you cannot
Yeah.
learn this. This is something I'm never gonna have. It's
Well,
not my experience. I'm not Balinese.
yeah, but at the same time, there's so another beautiful trait of Balinese people is they're so welcoming. They're so inclusive. If you want to go and pray with them every morning, they will totally help
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
I mean, it's not even like they will accept. It's like natural. So we can.
There's no exclusivity.
No.
Yeah,
Because the
that's good.
spirit is everywhere, and they're super respectful for any religion. And what I love about going to a temple with a manku, a high priest, or any local, they tell you pray whoever you want to pray. Pray you God, pray you Allah, pray Yahweh, pray whoever, Jesus. It's a place of spirituality. Isn't it beautiful?
That's how it should be. That's why
Yeah.
they're so like grounded. They're
Yeah.
like they don't feel threatened, but they also don't give up.
Yeah.
It's a very healthy and strong relationship with whatever
Yeah.
is out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. And the exclusivity. So yeah, when sometimes I see some retreats who will do all those modalities that are totally imported and immigrant, I would say, like breath work and beautiful. Don't get me wrong. I also practice them once in a while, and they're very powerful, but they're not from here. So when you come here and you do all those modalities, but don't spend any time with the local, don't even go to Meluka, to a water temple to get a water purification. I'm like, really? What's happening here?
As I was listening to you, I had this thought, like it almost feels like those modalities are for us to unlearn that other life we had
Yeah.
and almost become more Balinese, because it's very simple. Those things you are mentioning,
Yeah.
some people would go crazy trying to do those like
Yeah.
little baskets. So I think all this embodiment stuff, everything is to get out of our heads,
Yeah.
lose that anxiety, whatever problem, trauma, and all that stuff. And I don't want to be like too um, insensitive to those people who have trauma, but like, um, ooh, also Balinese people, when I look at their lives, it's very simple. It's a lot
Yeah.
simpler than what we are born into in big countries, big cities, whatever, like in the West, and always trying to run and rush and do more. You're never enough. You always need to have a goal, bigger goal, better school, better diploma, like I suffered from that, definitely. And then I look at their lives, it's like, oh, it's simple. Everything is so simple. And simplicity is something I think all of us are trying to reach with all these modalities. And I don't think people necessarily remember that all the time. You lose yourself. Again, it's the Western mind. Like, oh, I have to become a teacher in this. I have to make more money with this modality. No, this is not the purpose. Like, we're all trying to I'll learn to become more spiritual and simple and feel that connection with the, other dimensions, ancestors, and all that.
Yeah.
I'm curious, other than five rhythms, or do you see five rhythms as a modality for you that you've been working with and it helped you during your journey? Or what other modalities really helped you throughout your journey?
Five rhythms. Yeah, five rhythm is really the modality that spoke the most to me, and yeah, I'm kind of at the point in my life where I don't need to search too much more. It really and englobe, it contains everything that's touched me and made the most sense, because it's actually on the dance floor. It's just a drop, just a little spark of the practice itself. Yeah. Gabrielle said, if we don't bring this practice to the subway, because she was living in New York, if we don't bring this practice to the subway, then we're losing our time. And what it means is it's out. She's gonna want to come say hi. It's okay. It's in our daily life. Five rhythms. The five rhythms are our daily life. In what rhythms are we right now? I mean, you don't have to answer, but this is, or you can, but this is that. What is the rhythm outside right now? It's very chaotic. The weather, setting up our thing was here and there, and the cable, and this cat poop on the bed, and then there was rain, and then there was it's super chaotic. What do I respond to that? I can force and be in a panic and tension. I surrender and let it go. Am I flowing with that? But at the same time, are we clear with what we want to achieve? Am I clear in my communication, or am I wishy-washy? The cycle of life, the cycle of the weather, the seasons, all that is you can find five rhythms in everything. So when I, was taking off, looking at all the layers of the practice, and it's all, of course, in the body. That's the central gateway to this life. It's a lifestyle. And I started to understand, or to make sense of, this is in everything. Oh my gosh. It's my lighthouse for my life. So I don't really need, I enjoy, going to a yoga class or sun healing, beautiful. It calms my nervous system. But it's a one-time thing. See what I mean? That five rhythm is now my life. Yes. Pretty much.
That's the main modality.
Yeah.
Because, you're a facilitator now, and, facilitator, teacher, space holder. Did it change things for you? Do you see it as a job, or are you still learning from it every time you dance? I know you say you can't dance enough, and I'm once a week is enough for me at the moment, at least. Has it lost its spark for you, or has it turned into something else? Are you enjoying that part of too? And because right now, I think in Bali, you're the only people who are doing five rhythms, right? That's huge. So you also are building a community, and you have this role of being a community builder also.
Yeah. That's interesting and not easy question. Thank you for asking it. So in part of our teaching, our teacher training, touches these points exactly. So how can we keep the spark or not? Are we going to keep the spark because it's 5 rhythms? And a lot of teachers, by the way, just a parenthesis, another thing that I love and appreciate about 5 rhythms is the authenticity and the fact that we're freaking imperfect, and then we have our flaws, and then we have our contradiction, and we are just human, and we're trying to be connecting with other humans through our body, not through our head, because our head tells a bunch of stories, freaking lies all the time, or bullshit, or imaginary fairy tale, while the body sensation will never lie. Anyways, that's the parenthesis. And some of the like old timer admits that they were one in particular. I remember in the French one, Marc. He said that for years I couldn't hear about flow, staccato, chaos. I was vomiting. He said I had to move away for, I don't know, 5 years, like, or 10 years, like a long time. He didn't teach. So I couldn't, like, I was so done. And somehow by letting go, probably the chaos, then I made space to rediscover it, to take it from another angle, from another, prism. And so for me, I must say that I'm too new maybe to the practice. I've been practicing in space and holding space, but to the teaching itself, it's still fresh. So I have like tons of notebooks of stuff, inspiration and ideas and impression that I wrote. And when I'm a teacher, I can put that in place. So I still have that to explore and much more. But for sure, one of the key message that we are being told again in the teacher training is like never stop practicing yourself. And that's a struggle because we're so fortunate here in Bali with Jada to have each other, to be able to dance and to teach. But some places I have friends, 5 rhythm teachers who are alone in their area, in their region. So they teach, but they don't get to practice themselves. So they join sometimes workshop or retreat. They will travel on the other side of Europe to keep you have to keep and they are refreshed. And they are so you don't get into like a mud of inertia in your practice.
Because I was wondering, so Jada and Sophie are always together. They play on Tuesdays. That's the most regular one, and they alternate between each other. 1 week Jada plays and Sophie is always there and Sophie is practicing. And I was questioning, like, aren't they get sick of this? Like, why is she coming alone? She doesn't need to be here,
Oh my God,
That's why.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the thing. I mean, I look forward to both because I love also teaching, like facilitating. Facilitating. So I need to dance and not think about what's the next, the DJ part and the thing. I just need to be with my process.
Yeah.
And Jada same, so that's great.
It's funny. I told Jada too. Over the summer when I was in Turkey, I actually went to ecstatic dance DJ training.
Oh, nice.
Yes, and we did like little flows there, and I totally get what you're saying. When you're playing, you're like, oh, do they like it? Oh, what's happening? Should I be inside, outside? What's the next song? Do I go check now? No, I have more time. Like it becomes something else. It's not.
Yeah.
It wasn't fun for me. Maybe over time, like as you practice, it becomes easier because you guys are both like, even when you're facilitating, you dance as much as I do. That's crazy to me. Like she changes the song and comes right back as if that's where she needs to be.
Well, that's also important again in the facilitation to deal with because we're not. That's the thing. We're not a distance. I'm you, me. We are all processing together. So I'm having another hat, which is the facilitator, and having maybe dance and journey perform maybe in the five rhythms, so that's what I'm bringing. But I don't want to put it. We're not putting any distance. Like I'm there and I'm here and you're there. So that's why I need to dance with everybody, feel the room. Oh, maybe what I'm offering is a bit too, I don't know, confrontative right now. And with this observation, do I feel like actually the room needs that compensation or no? So that's the practice. Feel what is going to nourish us. And for that, it's not just looking from my DJ booth, it's being with are people looking at each other? Are people looking down? Are people staying in one spot? Are people just reading this energy today? And tomorrow can be totally different. That's the beauty also of the practice and of us. We're never the same. What are we? We are dance. We are energy. We're moving, changing, constantly.
So,
I told you I speak a lot.
Yeah, no, it's okay. The process itself, the whole ceremony, let's say, like the arrival, and then people getting ready, and the rhythm start, and then we have the closing circle. What is your favorite thing out of all this? Like this whole process, which is your favorite, and also which rhythm is your favorite? If you have one.
The favorite. No.
Okay. The whole thing.
The whole thing. And some days I don't like any of it because I don't really. Because I feel shit with the music I chose. I feel shit with the group that doesn't move, or not enough people, or too many people. And some days it's
I love it.
It's just an explosion of love, of connection, of fluidity, or not. Like every time it's different. That's what's the beauty. And I'm also different every time.
Right.
So I may be struggling with something.
This is good, actually. This is
nice.
Exactly. That's where I was gonna go. But with all these modalities, people always accept the fact that we're all human and we are not perfect, and things are changing. Days are different. Sometimes I'm good, sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I perform better, and it's all part of the line. And everybody understands that. That's something I really like about living in a conscious community. Everybody's so aware of, like, okay, today's a shitty day. I still showed up. We're gonna do this, but not just aware like that there's heaviness in my body, and that's totally fine. It's very human. Versus, in the Western world, when you go to office and everything, you have to perform every day, no matter what, regardless of what's happening in your life. And it's like, that's so unrealistic. Like, that's so much pressure. Which it kind of like dehumanizes you.
Totally.
You have to become a robot.
Totally. Like, and that's what you rigidify your emotion, your experience. You had, like, let's say, a shitty day with your partner, or your kid is, I don't know, like going through puberty, who knows, life stuff, but that stirs stuff like tremendously inside. And then you show up at work and you pretend that nothing happens. This is wrong. This is wrong. It creates so many cancers, so many ulcers, so many diseases, so many traumas, so many burnout. Why?
Exactly. I'm so glad we touched upon this. So you talked about, like, how much of what's going on in the room is affecting you, like people leaving, people losing concentration, people not liking the music. Are you concerned with people not liking the music? How do you maintain a strong posture in all this, in chaos, literally?
I don't.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the work. It's part of the work.
Yes.
It's part of the inner work. Exactly. You know, I'm offering. One day, Jonathan said we offering a safe space for risky work.
Mhm.
So yes, it's risky for people because they, if they want, they can show up with their vulnerability, and we see it on and on. You know, day in and day out, people crying, people having epiphany, and people, and that's totally welcome and safe. Um, but yeah, the place is safe if people want to go. But and not but and as a facilitator, it's also work, constant work. You know, my ego, my fragility, my lack of confidence sometimes, and it's also I'm observing. I'm reacting like this. Why? What's happening? Is it because I'm not good enough? I was like, shit, I chose music that maybe someone doesn't like. And as we are conditioned, one person doesn't like, but 10% like, I'm going to, you know, look at the person doesn't like and want to be a people pleaser, maybe, and change for that. You know, all that, all this. It's not shit because it's a reality. And I'm just learning, whole practice about learning to feel your intuition. What does it tell you? And to kind of balance. Of course, I'm not going to force something against absolutely because I think, you know, it's all about balance. What do I fear here? Mm-hmm. And I feel insecure today, maybe. And 5 people, 2, thank God, not 5, but 2 people left. Yeesh. Ooh, I feel a little bit uncomfortable, but what do I know about those people? Maybe they're struggling themselves, and maybe the classroom, the dance room triggered something super deep for them, and actually it's a gift. Mm-hmm. Maybe I don't know, they have an emergency. Maybe who knows? So we don't know. One of the value we have a code, kind of a code of like a list of values at Park Rhythm is be kind to people because you don't know what's happening in their life.
Right. That's something we can all apply.
Yes, we cannot assume, oh, blah, 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 why someone is not moving and looking at you and they take it personally, like, all that, you need to peel it off. But at the same time, as a facilitator, so that's great to have Jada also as a kind of other pair of eye to look at things. As facilitators, also we're here to invite, to know when to invite, to know when to let the process go. Someone doesn't want to move, it's okay. Someone is like not moving, but we know this person, so we know by pushing them a little bit or inviting them, it's good for them. It's a dance.
Right.
It's a dance.
So when you do,
and I'm still learning. Sorry, I'm still like learning constantly. So I don't know.
That's good. Maybe that's a way to keep it fresh. You know, something that looks like the same, but it's different. Like people are different, music is different, you are different. So that also speaks to, you know, the inevitable spirituality of cycles. You know, like and us changing. Everything is changing. You go to the same dance every week, it's never the same dance. It's never the same movement. You want to do the same movement, it's never the same movement. You know, like,
exactly.
And it's it's a good way of like I love that it's a practice for me and I do it regularly so I get to see these things. For me as an astrologer, you know, I always watch where the moon is in terms of sign that day when I'm practicing because that tells me everything about, you know, that practice that day, the energy of that day. And I love like watching myself through that perspective. But that's
that's I love
something
that.
about my job and like, you know, not separating my job from my life. you work with concepts. You have a concept for every week's gathering. How do you come up with those things, those concepts, and when do you prepare the playlist? And how flexible is the playlist?
Okay.
A little bit technical questions.
Questions. Saying the themes, concept themes. Saying it really depends. Sometimes, like for instance, the dancing in the rain yesterday. Yeah. Really came easily. I was looking at the weather and so intense and yeah. So she's coming from here. Where she gets and yeah. And I was it just came again. And something comes. That's also what I'm learning more and more, to make space and not try too much to think about something and let it come to me. Sometimes it's easier than others. I look at also the cycle of life, the equinox, the elements, the full moon, also what's happening in the world, and that actually we all as a collective energy are processing either element of nature or a volcano explosion or something like that. So, and also politically, a war.
Yeah.
Were you here when I did the war?
I didn't attend, but I saw.
Yeah, I did the war. I felt really the energy was so strong in Israel and Palestine and Ukraine and all this thing. It was like, okay, we need to process that in our body because we all, even if we're so far and so remote, either family or if we're following a bit of the news, or even if we don't, like energetically, we're all affected by it. Yeah. So I did a war class with a lot of crazy, Rage Against the Machine music.
Oh wow!
Yeah. It was full on. Yeah, and it was good, I think. And the playlist? When do you prepare it? So more and more, I trust I started with like the perfect playlist and being stuck with it. And again, not having experience of reading the room, it's constantly learning. Sometimes I would feel that the music I chose was not really fitting the energy, but I was like, I'm too afraid to try something else because maybe it's not going to fit, and the transition and the beat per minute, and too stuck with the kind of DJ thing. So I'm moving more and more. I'm making distance and space between that to be really being able to go and respond and offer what the group needs. But I still make a skeleton. Yeah. A skeleton much more loose. Right. And on the spot, I'm going to do this one or that one. I'm going to pick from another playlist because that is really not working. Or and I do it, I don't know, the day before, I don't, so I never use the same playlist twice. Okay, yeah. It happened a couple of times for, I don't know, like schedule reasons that I kind of recycled an old playlist, but I changed some stuff. But most of the time, because again, I'm not the same, I don't have the same mood, I don't have. So I keep all my playlists, and it's funny actually. It's interesting to go back and listen to old one, and I still do that sometimes. What was I thinking about? Because this is not a whatever staccato. This is totally lyrical. What? So that's interesting. Yeah, that's okay, because now to me it's different. Sometimes I follow those things too, because I studied it, and even it was an ecstatic dance where we talked about 5 rhythms and all the different BPMs and everything. And
now it's a part of the game for me too. I'm like, oh, today's playlist was really good. That was a really good, like, I don't know, staccato, whatever, I love that. And, you know, ooh, the ending, the closing circle, what does it mean to you? Is it necessary? Is it necessary in terms of rhythms? Like, do all people do it, or like, what's the purpose of it for you? Because, like, I think that's where the community really comes into play. People start talking about, oh, last week it was like this, and this week it's like that. Then you get to know people, and they're the newcomers, first time trying people. This is Bali. People come here as a tourist. They want to try out different things, and there are the people who are there every week. They're the people who have been there since the beginning. And so I think closing circle is it serves a different function in the whole thing. What do you think about that?
There was a time actually I was struggling with that, and I would have preferred not to have a closing circle. And then I shared with Jada and some other teachers, and one teacher told me, I don't remember who it was, and they said, well, especially for people who have stirred, for whom something has shifted, and most likely the newbies, finding a way that is familiar to them, which is word, to express, to share, is also super important. So I want to, honor that. And at the same time, that's why, I don't know if you notice, sometimes I say, keep it simple. Because the side, the flip of the coin is sometimes people start to go into a big, like, and then the nun, it reminded me of my cousin, because and then you totally lose, staying with the sensation of the body, putting words on that, but not on bringing your mind then totally out of place, and then you dissolve the experience. So actually, to let me put it this way, is the sharing should support the experience and not go in the way of the experience, bringing you somewhere else. Of course, then after we're going to chit chat with people, but talking about the closing circle in particular. And yes, sometimes, then we share about something else, but related to what happened just now. And you're right, I agree. That is also part of the community who was new, and feeling for the newbies when people share vulnerable experience, it makes them also feel like, oh wow, I'm permitted to go there. I can go there. I don't know anyone, and how many times people share, like, I don't know anyone, but I feel like so safe and comfortable here, and
yesterday someone said
yes, and welcomed and belonging. That's huge.
What is the craziest thing that happened on the dance floor when you were facilitating? Strange, weird, paranormal.
I haven't had so many crazy things.
Okay.
No, because probably I haven't been teaching for long enough. I've heard of crazy stories from old timers, old teachers. No, but it's not too crazy for Ubud, is some women or some people sometimes like channeling whatever and yelling but literally going in the middle of the dance floor on fours, or like channeling and like yelling, and they're in a trance or in some other place, and it's part of the process, but it's definitely influencing energetically the whole So those are the moments as teachers we really need to tune into an intuition. Is it important for me to let that process go, even if it's very disruptive? But it's for everyone else, including me, to process and grow within that. Or it's not going to bring anything, or the benefit is not that clear.
Yeah.
And there is more disturbance than benefit. So in which case, we need to intervene and gently ask to shift the energy, something like that. So I think that's the craziest, which is very crazy.
Yeah, it's normal for a book.
Yeah. No, I've heard of stories of people literally getting injured and falling on a thing and breaking glass and being brought a heart attack, like this stuff. Yeah. So we're having like a first aid training.
Right.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That chaos is like, it's almost dangerous. Like, chaos is mainly what I go for.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Because I realize personally in my life, I don't let myself experience chaos that freely. So that's why, like, it gives me the space to really have my craziness, whatever, and not because it's a practice. I really wanna like push through. Like I try not to get distracted. My personal approach to 5 rhythms and ecstatic also, but ecstatic's a different story now. Like I said it with Jada too. Like ecstatic to me is now clubbing. I see it as just fun. It's not a process. I'm not gonna. It can happen, but when I go to 5 rhythms, it is not a dance. It is a process. It's a practice, and chaos is like where I get the most out of the whole experience. And my personal approach is that even if you don't like the song, even if you're tired, whatever, don't give up. Be present. Push yourself to be there, still in the rhythm, whatever rhythm it is, and not give up, because it's like you started something and you need to ride the wave, and that says a lot about how we deal with things in life too. When things get crazy and chaotic, like, do you give up? Like, the word is maybe giving up. But lately I've been realizing, like, okay, until chaos, I'm like, okay, this went, it passed by really fast, and chaos is like, okay, I have to shake, I have to move, this doesn't feel comfortable, but still I'm gonna push through, and then after that, it's like, oh, it finished. I love that feeling. I'm like, okay, chaos, the storm is over. That like toughness, whatever struggle, what you're going through, comes to an end. I love that feeling, which is why lyrical might be my favorite. You didn't mention any, but like after that chaos, I feel so light. I'm like, no, wait, dance. Like, this is where I want to be all the time, right after chaos, when I shook off everything, and it's just like, it's just
beautiful.
Do magic. Anything else you want to add, or anything you want to ask me? I encourage people to, or I let people have their, moment of sharing whatever they want to share, or ask me any questions.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for doing that, because it's, and I love your approach of, we meet so many people in Ubud, in Bali, on the dance floor, on the yoga street, but in fact, we don't really know them. I mean, there are people I've seen and I recognize, sometimes I remember their names, sometimes I don't. We hug and we do the Ubud thing. Hey, how are you? I know nothing about them. So doing that with the Ubud community is brilliant.
I mean,
Thank you.
I met so many like amazing people, and I'm meeting every day so many people that I'm like, I see it as part of my journey and my job to introduce these people to outside world, you know, like people who are curious about coming to Bali, because I'm fresh here, still very new.
Yeah.
And I had no idea whom I was going to meet with, you know, like, and this happened, and I'm like, wait a minute, like people have the right to know who lives here, these crazy people, where do they come from, what they have done, what's the modality they work with, how do they pick their modalities, you know, in their own journeys, becoming a healer, becoming a facilitator. So, you know, I'm really enjoying it. Like, and like I said, you know, we get to meet with people I didn't know until today. She has been married with kids, you know, like nothing. We meet on a different level, which is a good level. It's very hard. It's very like understanding, sharing things, sharing a sweat, you know, whatever, or tears. But then like I realized, okay, outside of this world, like that would be the first question I ask you. Are you married? Do you have children? Where do you come from? You know, like we know nothing about this. So that's a different thing for me too. And it's teaching me a lot because I'm also trying not to look at people's charts right away now. And so I'm totally like, I see you as Sophie who does 5 rhythms, you know, in Ubud. Okay, at Paradiso. Okay, how do I feel about that? What does she make me feel? Like, how is our interaction without any of those filters? Like, if I knew you were married, like, would I be like, oh, where's her husband? Is she like, well, you know, like, I would have all these other thoughts, but
pollution.
yes,
Thought of or relation pollution.
and all those little judgments, you know, they're like embedded there, you know, like, oh, married women should be like this, you know, like, and you broke that in me a little bit now, like, mothers should be like this, you know, like, anyway, so yeah. Anything you want? Anything about the future? Any goals? Any projects? Where do you want to take your practice? You want to stay in Ubud, I guess. What's
not 50-50?
Oh.
So my another project that I not another, but the project of this house there is a way to, you know, this transition. Sorry, I'm starting 3 ideas at the same time. The fact that my family leaving, my 2 sons now are studying or exploring sabbatical and training, and my husband is a teacher trainer, also is an educator, and he developed a pedagogy teaching program that is teaching teachers, and it didn't make sense for him to stay here. Anyways, we trying to rebalance our life, which has been very international. What I was telling you, traveling and from France, Canada, States, and amazing. But I guess now we're in a place where we would like to maintain somehow that, but with a bit more grounding balance. So the idea is, and also my dad is getting old. I don't have my mom anymore. You know, those elements are like, maybe going back to my roots or closer. So the idea is to somehow establish ourselves in France half of the year, start the practice over there, and I already contacted some studio because I'm going there in the spring.
Oh wow, okay.
And you know, retreat, workshop, practices over there 6 months and 6 months here, and having this house maybe as a kind of, because we're renting here, and continue to run retreat and classes in Ubud, like we're about to do in December, some big ones and some regular classes. So like a 50-50, that's the ideal life. So get a bit of, you know, sometimes I miss a bit the West, going to see a show, actually going to see more dance and gallery and art and food and See what I mean? It was a bit of fall, putting a scarf on and starting a wood fire. But too much is like, okay, get me out of here. I miss my Balinese smile and kindness.
That's awesome. Best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Nice.
Hopefully.
Well, good luck with all that. And thanks for being here, sharing your life, sharing your wisdom, sharing your practice with us.
Thank you.
From our hearts to your hearts, from Bali with love.
Thank you, Maud. Can I have a little?